A single push under a high school track tent sparked a tragedy that has torn a Texas town apart and, well, completely set the internet on fire.
Yeah, it really did. The fallout has been just massive.
Let's get right into the facts for you. On April 2, 2025, 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony fatally stabbed 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a Frisco, Texas track meet.
Right.
Anthony weighed just 130 pounds. Metcalf weighed 213 pounds. Following a verbal dispute over Anthony sitting in the wrong school's tent, Metcalf pushed Anthony.
And then the retaliation happens.
Exactly. Anthony retaliated by stabbing Metcalf once in the chest with a 3.5-inch folding knife. Metcalf died at the hospital. Now Anthony faces up to 99 years in prison for first-degree murder.
Which is just a staggering potential sentence.
It really is. And this tragedy ignited a massive cultural fracture. It generated over $750,000 in crowdfunding. It triggered FBI investigations into online harassment, and it even drew extremist protests.
The whole situation escalated so fast.
So, welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today is to cut through all that extreme online noise. We are examining the facts, the legal battles, and the cultural shockwaves of this case.
And to do that, we pulled from a really wide stack of sources for you. We've got police reports, live trial updates, Wikipedia, Snopes, and some heavily polarized online discussions.
Right, from Reddit threads to op-eds. And we need to make something very clear right off the bat. Our sources contain highly politically charged content.
Come across the entire spectrum.
Exactly. We are not taking any sides here, and we aren't endorsing any of these viewpoints. We are just impartially reporting what is in the source material so you can understand how this escalated from a local track meet into a national battle.
Yeah, we're just laying out the facts.
So let's step away from the internet entirely for a second. We need to ground ourselves in the physical realities of that day before we even look at the legal spin.
That makes sense.
It was a rainy day at David Kuykendall Stadium. Anthony ran for Centennial High, but he went and sat under a tent belonging to Memorial High School. And Austin Metcalf was a Memorial student.
Right, and according to student witnesses from Memorial, they actually asked Anthony to leave multiple times.
Up to 15 times, right?
Yeah, some testified they asked him 15 times to vacate their area, but Anthony refused to move.
And here is where the escalation moves from just a stubborn standoff to an actual physical threat. Witnesses testified that Anthony allegedly responded by saying, "Touch me and see what happens," or "Touch me and find out."
While reaching into his backpack.
Exactly. Crucially, they noted his hand was in his bag. Then, moments later, the physical contact happens. Metcalf stepped forward and pushed Anthony on the shoulder area with both hands.
And in response, Anthony pulled a folding knife from that backpack, stabbed Metcalf once in the chest, and then just fled the scene.
He turned himself in shortly after.
Yep.
And in the back of the police car, he asked the officers if Metcalf was going to be okay. But he also asked a very specific legal question.
Yeah, he wanted to know if what he did counted as self-defense.
Right. And that single question forms the absolute core of the legal battle right now.
Exactly. The defense argues this is a textbook case of self-defense under Texas law, specifically the stand your ground statutes.
Okay, wait, let me unpack this for you. If you walk into someone else's space, bring a prohibited weapon to a school event, and basically set a verbal tripwire by saying, "Touch me and see what happens."
Can you legally claim self-defense when someone trips it?
Yeah. I mean, haven't you surrendered the right to play the victim?
Well, the mechanics of Texas law actually evaluate self-defense in a very microscopic way. The jury has to believe you had a reasonable fear of imminent harm.
Even if you broke the rules by having a knife at school.
Yeah, the law isolates just a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
The jury has to ask, in the exact millisecond Metcalf's hands hit Anthony's shoulders, did Anthony reasonably believe his life was in immediate, severe danger?
And the defense leans their entire argument on the statistics of that exact millisecond.
Because you're looking at a massive size disparity. An 80-pound weight difference is huge in a physical fight.
Oh, absolutely. 130 pounds versus a 213-pound varsity linebacker.
Right. So the defense argues that when a much larger, stronger athlete aggressively puts his hands on you, reacting with force isn't premeditated murder. They say it's a split-second decision born out of sheer biological terror.
But the prosecution paints a completely different picture. They argue this was a provoked, unjustified murder.
Because he brought a prohibited weapon to a school event in the first place.
Exactly. They argue he was the instigator. He provoked the fight by refusing to leave and issuing a threat. And most importantly, they argue about the proportionality of force.
Right, using lethal force against non-lethal force.
Yeah. I mean, a two-handed shove to the shoulders simply does not justify a knife to the heart.
So the jury has to weigh Metcalf's overwhelming physical size against Anthony's verbal provocations? Who was the actual aggressor here?
But, if the law is that ambiguous, it basically forces the ultimate decision onto 12 random people in a room.
And the selection of those 12 people became a bigger national story than the stabbing itself.
It derailed the trial before opening statements even started. The 12-person jury, plus 6 alternates, features exactly 0 black jurors.
None at all.
And Karmelo Anthony is black, while Austin Metcalf was white.
Right. So during jury selection, the defense issued a Batson challenge. They accused the prosecution of striking all the eligible black jurors based specifically on race.
And when you issue a Batson challenge, the prosecution has to provide a clear, race-neutral reason. Right?
Exactly. They have to prove it wasn't about race. And their justification was that 3 of the dismissed black female jurors were teachers. They argued they didn't want educators on a case involving high schoolers.
Here's where it gets really interesting for you, the listener. The defense immediately pointed out a glaring double standard.
Because the prosecution kept a white female juror who was also an educator.
Yeah, she was an esthetician at a trade school. And the judge ultimately sided with the prosecution and let the trial proceed.
Which is wild.
I mean, how does the justice system draw a line between a K-12 teacher and a trade school teacher to justify a completely race-neutral jury selection? Does that distinction actually hold water?
Well, legally, the judge ruled that it does. But socially, jury selection sets the tone for public trust in a trial.
Right. It's about the community believing the process is fair.
Exactly. And when a jury in a heavily scrutinized, racially charged case ends up with 0 black members based on a technicality about teaching environments, it severely fractures that public trust.
And when people lose trust in the courtroom proceedings, that leads directly to a wild, unchecked narrative taking over the internet.
It really does. The spread of misinformation in this case perfectly shows how fast rumors outpace facts.
Like the money rumor. An article from the Daily Mail sparked a wildly viral claim that Anthony's family used Give-Send-Go donations to buy a $900,000 gated home and a Cadillac Escalade.
But that was entirely fake.
Completely fabricated. Fact-checkers at Snopes had to intervene. They contacted the Give-Send-Go co-founder, who confirmed the family hasn't withdrawn a single cent yet.
And then there was the fake autopsy report.
Oh, that was insane. An account on X, impersonating the Frisco police chief, posted a fabricated, highly graphic autopsy report of Austin Metcalf.
It gained millions of views in hours.
It was so sophisticated the FBI had to launch a federal investigation.
Which is just crazy.
So what does this all mean? It's like the truth is still tying its shoes while a lie has already sprinted around the globe. Why are people so eager to believe these extreme rumors without checking the facts?
It comes down to confirmation bias. When people feel intense emotions about a social issue, their brains actively seek out information that validates their anger.
It triggers a dopamine response, right?
Exactly. If you believe the Anthony family is exploiting the system, a rumor about a Cadillac Escalade feels true to you. You share it instantly.
And the algorithms just amplify it.
Because algorithms only care about engagement, and outrage gets the most clicks. People share fake news when it perfectly fits their pre-existing political or racial narratives.
And we see that massive divide in the fundraising data. Over $515,000 raised for Anthony's defense on Give-Send-Go.
Where they actually had to disable the comments due to racist remarks?
Yeah, it was toxic. Meanwhile, nearly $250,000 was raised for Metcalf's family on GoFundMe.
But while the internet was fighting this proxy war, the real human beings involved were living an absolute nightmare.
Which brings us to the terrifying real-world consequences of all these lies. And again, we are just imparting the heavily polarized public discourse from our sources here.
Right.
Some online users view Anthony as a cold-blooded murderer being protected by a woke agenda. Others view him as a victim of a biased system that allows white defendants to claim self-defense, but criminalizes black teens for the same thing.
And extremist groups actively exploited that divide. Groups like White Lives Matter and Patriot Front staged protests right at the high school stadium.
They were pushing a white genocide narrative.
Yeah, but Austin Metcalf's father actually confronted those extremist groups face-to-face. He told them they were creating a race divide. He demanded they stop using his dead son's portrait and explicitly stated he did not condone their actions.
I mean, that takes unimaginable strength for a grieving father. But tragically, that didn't stop the harassment. Both fathers lost their jobs because of doxing.
Yeah, vigilantes track down their employers.
The Anthony family received death threats and had to relocate to an undisclosed location.
And the Metcalf family was swatted.
That is just terrifying. A heavily armed SWAT team raided a grieving father's home based on an internet lie. Even the judge was doxxed.
It's just horrific.
It absolutely is. We have two grieving, traumatized families who are now being actively terrorized by the public. How did a local tragedy become a pawn for national political agendas?
Well, because in the modern internet era, high-profile tragedies are stripped of their humanity. The kids involved become flat symbols that people use to fight America's broader culture wars.
The families just become collateral damage. So, bringing this all back to you, the listener, a localized 10-minute tragedy highlights the profound fragility of our justice system. It exposes the dangers of misinformation and the incredibly destructive nature of online tribalism.
And now the legal system is tasked with finding objective truth in an environment built entirely on subjective rage.
Which leaves you with something to really think about. In an age where social media algorithms reward outrage and instantly polarize every tragedy, is it even possible to have a truly impartial jury of your peers anymore? When the court of public opinion moves this fast, does the actual court of law even stand a chance?